Hello and welcome to Granada Reports. We are live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us on the programme this evening.
An inquest hears the medical history of a paranoid schizophrenic woman who stabbed a 7-year-old girl to death in Bolton.
Decision day, the polls open tomorrow for the local elections, but who'll come out on top? We have everything you need to know.
The coronation is just days away, but will King Charles have a fight on his hands to keep the Commonwealth going?
To me, the Commonwealth is just a rebranding of empire.
There is a new dawn, and the Commonwealth can be used for that force for good.
He was the man who kept Manchester United going after Munich. Old Trafford unveils a statue in honour of Jimmy Murphy.
We'll be chatting to our very own Michelle Keegan. She's back in the northwest where she belongs, filming her latest venture, Fool Me Once. We'll be chatting to her at the end of the programme.
And it was a beautiful start in Liverpool this morning. Hazy sunshine for many of us today. How long can it last? The forecast is coming up.
Well, first tonight, an inquest has been hearing the medical history of a woman who stabbed a 7-year-old girl to death in a park in Bolton. It's
3 years ago that Emily Jones died on Mother's Day. She was attacked by Eltiona Skarner, who was a paranoid schizophrenic.
Well, today the inquest heard from a doctor who said he didn't know that Skarner had admitted to lying about her past to gain asylum to the UK.
Our reporter Tim Scott's been following the inquest for us at Bolton Coroner's Court. Tim, what more can you tell us?
Yes, Lucy. Well, today the inquest into the death of Emily Jones heard evidence from 3 medical practitioners. As you've said, Emily was killed by Eltiona Skarner in Queen's Park here in Bolton in March 2020. First up today was consultant psychiatrist Dr. Sue Anthony Farrell. She interviewed Skarner just hours after she'd killed Emily. Skarner told her she'd not felt well for some time, and she said she couldn't remember anything that had happened in the park that day when she'd cut Emily's throat. The doctor described Eltiona Skarner's manner as guarded, defensive and suspicious. Next, Dr. Raj Dangi appeared via video link from Australia, where he now lives and works. He oversaw Skarner's treatment from 2018 to 2020. He told the inquest he took it at face value when Skarner told him she'd been a victim of human trafficking and had worked as a prostitute in Kuwait. But when asked about Skarner previously telling medical staff she'd made that story up in order to claim asylum in the UK, something that was recorded in her medical records, he said, "I don't think I was aware." And he said there were thousands of pages of medical records and it wasn't possible to read them all. He said that in the meetings he's had with Skarner, they lasted just 20 minutes and it wasn't possible to corroborate everything that she said. The final witness today was psychiatric nurse Victoria Fagin. She said that in 2018 she'd objected to a change in Skarner's medication regime, a move from a once-a-month injection to daily oral medication, and her objections were recorded in the patient records. She also told the inquest that in the weeks before Skarner killed Emily, she'd had no concerns about Skarner's state of mind. The inquest continues tomorrow. Back to the studio.
OK, Tim in Bolton, for now, thank you.
11 men have been charged with more than 100 offences of historical sexual abuse against 3 teenage girls in Rochdale.
The offences are alleged to have taken place against the girls between 2000 and 2007. Anna Yosef has more.
10 men appeared individually at Manchester Magistrates Court today. They're charged in connection with Operation Lytton, an ongoing police investigation into historical child sex abuse. The men, who are all from Greater Manchester, face multiple charges, including rape and trafficking. The charges relate specifically to the abuse of 3 teenage girls in Rochdale from 2000 to 2007. All the defendants indicated not guilty pleas, but no formal pleas were entered. The court heard how another man who had been due to appear, Tahir Rashid, who's 52 and from Rochdale and facing several charges of rape, had recently flown to Dublin and a warrant was issued for his arrest. In a statement about Operation Lytton, GMP said, officers are continuing to work alongside partners, including Rochdale Council, to provide a multi-agency response to safeguard those affected and ensure they're supported. All 10 men were released on conditional bail, and the next hearing will take place at Manchester's Minstrel Street Crown Court on June the 7th.
Anna Yosef reporting there. Well, next tonight, there's less than 24 hours to go until the local elections, and all the parties are gearing up for a night that could see changes to who runs local services.
Yeah, polling stations open bright and early at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, so party leaders have been making the most of the final day of campaigning.
Our political correspondent, Alicia Manali, is here. And Alicia, these elections are often seen as a test of public opinion ahead of a general election.
They are, although this year I think it might actually be true. The North West is about to see one of the biggest sets of local elections in recent memory. A massive 32 out of our 34 councils are holding votes, and that covers an awful lot of voters. 18 of them are also all-out elections, meaning every single seat on the council is up for grabs. That's pretty unusual and can mean that shock results are a bit more likely. This is also the first big battle at the ballot box of Rishi Sunak versus Keir Starmer, so you can bet that Westminster is going to be watching these results pretty closely. I mean, some of our councils are in those really crucial red wall battlegrounds, and as you say, general election just 1 year away potentially. If the turnout is high enough tomorrow, I think the results could help us predict who the next Prime Minister is going to be.
Oh, it's absolutely fascinating, isn't it, Alicia? So, which parts of the North West should we be watching in particular?
Well, the ones I think to keep a really close eye on are those 10 councils which are currently under no overall control. That means no party currently has a majority, and that's where we could see the political map of the region being redrawn. It's Labour who have the most to prove here, really. They need to see sufficient gains to help their party feel like their current lead in the polls could actually set them on the path to Downing Street. And a gain here and there really isn't going to cut it. They want to be taking overall control of councils like Hyndburn, like Bolton, like Wirral. As for the Conservatives, they're under a new Prime Minister, their third this year, so local MPs tell me they are expecting a little bit of a slump. But they're only defending 4 councils in our region, and 3 of them are pretty safe. Pendle, though, that's going to be fought over. And if the Conservatives can see off Labour there and hang on to that council, that will give them a big confidence boost that they actually could defy their current set in the polls. Lose their councillor base dramatically, though, and they will be feeling a little bit more wobbly. Elsewhere, Lib Dems hoping probably to increase their share on Stockport Council, the Greens for inroads in places like Lancaster, and we can't forget those smaller and independent parties as well. They could end up playing a big role in places like Liverpool. But if any of our viewers at home are saying, hey, she hasn't mentioned where I live yet, all local elections really matter. They're far from just being a Westminster temperature check. Here's why.
People should care about local elections because local councils provide most of the services that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it's getting your bins emptied, whether it's about the schools that your children go to. Local councils, they will provide those services. So it's really, really crucial that people have a say in the delivery of those services.
So loads of reasons to pay close attention to those results as they start coming in on Friday. We'll, of course, have them on Granada Reports throughout the day and online. But if you are heading out to vote, don't forget that this year you also need to bring your valid photo ID.
Very good advice. Yeah, we'll be watching very carefully. There's no point in moaning about who you get to represent you if you don't cast your vote. Alicia, thank you. OK, now the rehearsal has taken place. What a rehearsal it was. One of the biggest and grandest of occasions, the coronation of King Charles III at Westminster Abbey. The procession will feature more than 6,000 men and women from the UK and Commonwealth countries.
With his accession to the throne, he's also accepted the symbolic position as head of Commonwealth nations.
Yeah, this was a role that the late Queen was passionate about. But since her death and Barbados cutting ties with the monarchy in recent years, is it time running out for the Commonwealth? Lauren Ostrich reports from Liverpool.
Brothers Errol and Patrick are true Liverpudlians, but it's their Jamaican heritage that they're most proud of. Their parents were part of the Windrush generation, answering Britain's call in the 1960s. Their mother worked in a cotton mill on the docks, and their father was a baker. For decades, the brothers have visited this Caribbean centre in Toxteth to keep in touch with their roots.
England was the mother country, wasn't it? You know, so even after independence, people still seen Britain as the mother country, and they were invited to come. They all wanted to come here, work for 5 years and go home. But as you see, 70 odd years later, they're still here with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, so it never really worked out that way.
Migration, for those who don't know, is a natural human instinct, just like breathing. People move around all the time, always have, and always will do.
Jamaica is part of the Commonwealth, which is made up of 56 independent countries. Most were once under British rule. King Charles is the head of state for 15 of those countries, but as a new dawn breaks on his reign, there's questions on whether the Commonwealth still has a place in modern society.
Being born in Britain and going to Jamaica and seeing how Jamaica is, how it's set up, how the people live, my first thought of when I reached in Jamaica as a young man was, is this how Britain left Jamaica? That was my first thought. So to me, the Commonwealth, I don't see how Jamaicans benefit. I see how Britain benefits because our parents came here to work.
To me, the Commonwealth was just a rebranding of empire. The name empire seemed to come defunct and had a bad stigma and connotation to it, and Commonwealth sounds more pleasant. You know what I mean? But ultimately, it's the same thing because them countries are still in the same financial squalor that they were in under empire, where the average person on the street doesn't benefit. You might have a handful of big businesses in each country who benefits, but they were the same type of people or families or dynasties that benefited under empire, under slavery, under colonialism.
There's no real commonwealth, only the wealth of Britain, where it receives from its member states.
Do you think that it has a place in our world today?
Not in the modern world. If it would have a place in the modern world if it were to change its act, if it were to treat all parties equal.
But some believe the Commonwealth is a force for good, and its history should not be associated with the work that it does now.
It's not about Empire 2.0. We're making change from within. You've got to be around the table to influence decision making, and that's what we're doing. We know that there have been problems in the past, but we also know that there is a new dawn, and the Commonwealth can be used for that force for good.
The King has vowed to uphold the late Queen's dedication to keep the Commonwealth united, but with more countries opting to remove the monarch as head of state, only time will tell whether the landscape will look the same in years to come. Lauren Ostrich, ITV News, Liverpool.
Interesting stuff. Well, that coronation is now just a couple of days away, but there's been one issue that's really been making the headlines.
Yeah, the palace announced that millions of viewers are being invited to pledge their allegiance to their new king out loud on Saturday. Wherever we are, we're all being urged to swear an oath.
Earlier, we were joined by Andy Carter, the MP for Warrington South, who's one of only 20 MPs going to the coronation, and by Lisa Maynard-Atom, who's a social empowerment and black representation campaigner.
Yeah, we started by asking what they thought about the so-called Oath of Allegiance.
Service is something that's at the heart of the monarchy, and I actually feel that it might have been a better idea to actually invite people to maybe make a pledge of allegiance in terms of service, in terms of serving their communities, helping each other.
Andy, there is a lot going on at the moment, so is now an appropriate time for members of the public to be asked to swear this allegiance to the King and his successors?
I think, as Lisa said, it's down to individuals if they want to do that. I was on the Mall a little bit earlier, which is just down the road from the House of Commons, and I was talking to a member of the public that had been on the Mall during the last coronation. We'd just come out the back of a terrible Second World War, and they were saying how things have improved so much better today in society. And actually, this is a great opportunity for the nation to come together, to recognise the service that the monarch gives to this country, and for everybody to be part of that special service. And I think that in itself is a really welcome thing.
Would you agree, though, that perhaps the pomp and pageantry that goes into this is coming at quite a tough time.
Even today, people all around the world are looking at what we do here and thinking, isn't this wonderful? My inbox today has been flooded with details of people having street parties, community events, coming together, and it is about bringing communities together and celebrating the national coming together for the coronation.
So Lisa, a moment in history, it gives people a chance to celebrate, lift the spirits a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Andy. It's an incredible occasion. Why don't we celebrate and honour the coronation of the King by doing good deeds and helping other people? I think that's a fantastic way to celebrate.
It's a great idea. No one's stopping you from doing that.
Well, I will be doing some volunteering at the weekend.
So what will you be doing?
I will be, so one of my neighbours, she is going to be watching the coronation. She's an elderly lady and she lives alone. So we're going to take it in turns to go and see her and sit with her. But it's also my mother's birthday. So unfortunately, Mummy Maynard has to take priority over the King, so...
I'm sure he'd understand.
Andy, I mean, a couple of interesting points there from Lisa. I mean, many people will say that this whole process of swearing an allegiance to the King and his successors is somewhat archaic. Should there not be more of an emphasis in this day and age on swearing an allegiance to your local community?
I think one of the big messages that has come from King Charles has been this sense of service and supporting communities, and in particular on Holiday Monday, the big help out. I'll be out in Warrington with what we think will be the biggest litter pick that Warrington has ever seen. And actually, in terms of swearing an allegiance to the King, I'm probably one of the 600 people in this country that have already done that. As a Member of Parliament, we're asked to swear allegiance to the monarch, their heirs and successors, and it's something that I was very happy to do because it's part of representing my constituents and being part of the House of Commons.
Do you accept that not all of your constituents would feel the same way?
When we look at what this does to set Britain on the stage around the world, people look at us and think, actually, what a fantastic country, and we should be incredibly proud of the ceremony and the pomp and circumstance that we project to the world.
I wouldn't quite agree with that, just because the conversations I've been having have been very different. A lot of people have said that they wouldn't pledge allegiance. They just don't. They just feel that it's somewhat outdated, if you like, and that actually it should be really about the monarchy doing something that's more in keeping with the times.
Well, the debate goes on. Thanks for all of your views coming in as well via Twitter. Tony Lockwood, for example, thinks he's misread the room, asking the country to swear allegiance to him and his heirs.
Yeah, another Tony's got in touch, Tony Collier. He says, I won't be swearing an allegiance, but I'll watch for a bit. We do things so well, and I won't get to see another.
Yeah, Jeff Hughes says, he's already king. I don't need to see him put his hat on.
Samantha says it's costing so much to put this on when it could have been used for the NHS or even food banks.
And Matt says, I like Charles and Camilla, but it's my dad's 85th birthday on Saturday and he's having a party. Gosh, everyone seems to be having birthdays this coming weekend. Like the coronation, he says, my dad will only be 85 once. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime event.
That's
well
salient points there.
Yeah, and happy birthday to him. Indeed. OK, time for sport now. And can Manchester City reclaim top spot tonight, Mike?
Yeah, big night for City this, Lucy. They were replaced at the top of the Premier League table by Arsenal last night. So how will they respond at home to West Ham tonight? Let's remind ourselves of how that table looks. City 2 points behind Arsenal now, but with 2 games in hand. They have a packed fixture list in the coming weeks, but their manager insists nobody is tired.
There's just 6 games left. We have a game, one of the games we have to recover and go for it. And that's all. And if one player is tired, hands up. Because if you do hands up, it's because you are ready. And when you're ready, you have to perform well. For you, for your mates, to win the game.
Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has until Friday to respond to an improper conduct charge. The Football Association has acted following Klopp's comments about referee Paul Tierney at the weekend. Klopp suggested Tierney had something against his team, a statement he retracted yesterday. Liverpool are at home to Fulham tonight, and Klopp wants a repeat of his team's impressive first-half performance against Spurs on Sunday.
This is the start for something new, and that will not stop at the last match day in this season. It will have to continue next season, and that's why I take what I get and work with it. But the first part was that good that I was really pleased with that.
Now, if you're a Manchester United fan, you will definitely know this face, the late, great Jimmy Murphy, who, on this day 65 years ago, took charge of United in the FA Cup final while manager Matt Busby was recovering from injuries sustained in the Munich air disaster just 3 months earlier. Today, United have been unveiling a statue of Jimmy at Old Trafford. We'll head there in a moment after Chris Hall tells us a little more about this United hero.
When Manchester United were on their knees, Jimmy Murphy carried them.
On the fringe of a Munich airport lies the wreckage of an airliner.
Returning from a European game, United's plane crashed, claiming 23 lives. For Jimmy, who'd helped create the famous Busby Babes but missed the trip while managing Wales, it was heartbreaking news.
I cried myself for 20 minutes, couldn't realise it. It's hard to lose players you brought up, more or less live with. Very difficult. No one realised I went through hell, come back and had no one to talk to, really.
With manager Matt Busby in hospital, it fell on Jimmy to lead the club, attending funeral after funeral, while scrambling together a team to complete the season. He began with a blank team sheet. Within months, United were FA Cup finalists, and Jimmy led Wales in their first ever World Cup. 10 years later, the Busby-Murphy partnership had conquered Europe.
Manchester United have won the European Champions Cup.
In the days following the Munich air disaster, Jimmy Murphy vowed the Red Devils will rise again. His promise will forever inspire United to conquer even their worst moments.
A remarkable man. Let's head to Old Trafford, shall we, for a first glimpse of Jimmy's statue. Our correspondent David Chisnall is there for us.
Well, there it is. There is the statue to the great Jimmy Murphy, now standing proudly outside the Stretford end here at Old Trafford. He joins Manchester United legends, the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson, of course, Sir Bobby Charlton, George Best, Dennis Law, and of course his good friend Sir Matt Busby, being immortalised here at the stadium. Delighted to say that Alex Stepney, Jim Jr., Jimmy's son, and Pat Burns, who's headed the fan coalition, really crucial in getting this done, all join us now. Alec, we'll come to you first of all. You did the unveiling. What does it mean to you to see Jim up there?
It means a hell of a lot. I mean, I met him in London when I was to sign for the club, and he told me, unbelievable, he said, Alex, you'll be playing with George Best, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, Paddy Crerand, Tony Dunn, David Sadler, David Hurd. I said, Jim, I know. Great players.
So it must be special.
Yeah, well, he was special, and you know, he was a character, and that was the main thing. He kept the spirit up. He was a real character to us, and we loved it.
Jim, you were laughing at that. What do you think your dad would think to having a statue outside Old Trafford?
He wouldn't like it. he wouldn't be here. He was very private man. He'd go home after the game, and that was it. I think if you look at when Alec and the boys won in 1968, my dad just walks off the pitch as if it's just the end of another game. He doesn't run around jumping. And I understand that he went off with two of the opposition players because they were crying. So he took them to the changing room and got them a drink.
So he would have been a bit embarrassed by all this then. He just would have wanted to have kind of like stood to one side and gone, get me out of here.
Yeah. Didn't like it at all.
Well, Pat, I mean, we mentioned it before, you played such a crucial role in kind of getting the statue put up here. Why? Why is it so important to this club to have a statue of Jimmy Murphy?
There's always been a gap for Manchester United fans like me from my generation and other generations. It completes the jigsaw, I think, because if you think of the great immortals of our club, you know, Harold Hardman, Harry Stafford, and we've got Sir Matt, we've got Sir Alex, and look at that now, where he is, elevated. It's a proper fitting tribute for one of our great heroes and legends, a pillar of our football club, and it's right that he's honoured in this way.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, there we go. The Manchester United manager, Erik ten Hag, today said that Jimmy was one of the main people in the history of the club. He will now stand here proudly for future generations to see.
Yeah, wonderful tribute to a very important man.
Very modest man as well, who didn't run around jumping. I love that quote. He wouldn't have liked it. Now then, she is one of the country's favourite actors who's gone from Coronation Street to Our Girl and Brassic. But we're pleased to report Michelle Keegan has come back to her roots in the Northwest and is filming a brand new thriller for Netflix.
She's appearing in the latest Harlan Coben adaptation called Fool Me Once, which will be released on the popular streaming site early next year.
Our entertainment correspondent Caroline Whitmore took a trip to the picturesque Arley Hall in Cheshire to meet the star of the show.
Okay, for the take, here we go, and action.
Well, Michelle Keegan is back filming in the Northwest. She's here at Harley Hall in Cheshire as she leads the cast of brand new Harlan Coben thriller Film Me Once, which will be on Netflix very soon and will be seen in over 200 countries.
Michelle Keegan, you are back in Cheshire in the Northwest. Is it good to be back filming here?
Yeah, I love being back at home. I do, and I love filming around here, especially like locations like this.
Yeah.
Like, I used to come here quite a lot walking my dogs, and I did it actually like a few months ago before I got this job. Little did I know that I'd be here filming in like an amazing house. Left my dogs this morning at home. Mark's minding them for me today. Probably go to my mum's for tea. Like it's really nice. Feel very lucky.
Isabella, it's Maya. You're playing Maya Stern, so tell us a bit about her story then.
So Maya is ex-military. She's come home after her husband has been murdered. She's trying to investigate who did it. One day she's watching her nanny cam and she actually sees her husband with her daughter after he's been murdered.
Stop it.
Yes,
Dun,
yeah.
dun, dun. Isabella, I know you're in. Can you hurry up filming, because I want to see the end of that.
I know.
Nicola Schindler is on board with this.
Yeah,
Key
yeah.
Street Productions.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know,
I'm home.
yeah.
It is cool. But the first job that I got after I left Corrie was with Nicola Schindler, and that was Ordinary Lies. And obviously I've worked with Danny in the past, Danny Brocklehurst, with again Ordinary Lies, Brassic. So
yeah.
that he's a writer on this show as well. So I just feel like I'm at home.
So Michelle, Film Me Once is going to be on Netflix early next year. This is going to over 200 countries.
Oh my God! Stop! I need to film today. Now I'm all nervous.
Does it make you feel pressured that though? No.
Well, it didn't until now. No, it does. You know what? It's something that I could only have dreamed of growing up. Yeah. And, you know, when something happens like this, it's definitely a pinch me moment. But you don't realise, you know, that it's happening because you just come in work, you have to know your lines, you get on set, you run your scenes, and then you go home. Yeah. You don't actually think about the aftermath of it actually being on TV until it's on TV. But I'm frozen in motion and my head tells me to stop, but my heart goes.
Great interview, such lovely, and that is just such a fantastic book. It's going to make a great drama. Okay, the weather now with Jo.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. Not long now until the weekend and all eyes on Saturday for the coronation. Hopefully it will stay dry here in the northwest, but there could be a few showers. Tomorrow, another largely dry day, breezy again. That's really clipped those temperatures this afternoon, but some decent sunshine to look forward to. And then an unsettled day on Friday. Waiting out in the wings is this low pressure, and by tomorrow night it is going to push some rain into our part of the world. Friday could be some heavy thundery downpours. And at the moment Saturday starts dry, but as you can see there's a feature of rain down here to the south that will introduce rain by the end of Saturday to our part of the world. Back to tonight, it's clear, it's dry, there's some mistiness, still a fresh breeze here in the northwest, and temperature-wise really dipping to 4 or 5 Celsius, so a chilly night in prospect with bits and pieces of hill fog dotted about as we reach dawn. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun will be rising tomorrow at around 5:30, setting at around 8:45. Tomorrow, a fine start for most. Bits and pieces of low cloud around, some mistiness which will lift much like today, but the high cloud continues to feature. So sunshine amounts will be rather hazy. During the afternoon, it will stay dry. We still have that fresh breeze, but the sunshine is quite strong at this time of the year. So if you're out in it, do remember to put your sun cream on and don't be fooled by that wind. 16, 17, maybe 18 degrees, but feeling cooler in that breeze. Looking ahead to tomorrow night, some rain will move in. Thursday, there could be a few heavy, thundery downpours. Temperature-wise this weekend, it isn't going to be chilly, but it could turn more unsettled.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
And that's it from us, but be sure to join us tomorrow.
Yeah, because we're going to be at the Tate, Liverpool, where the Eurovision party is going to get started. Don't forget you can vote from 7 in the morning. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.